Hey viewers, Alan here, viewed from a slightly unusual angle. Welcome to the workshop. This is a sidebar from the project I had been working on, the drill grinding jig, because in the course of the next episode of that, the milling machine started making a noise, which I wasn't happy with. So need to pull all the top off. So I've had this motor off once before and I know it's heavy, so I've set up the overhead gantry so I can lift the motor, swing it over here and hang it from that, and then bring this back to lift the top off the milling machine, and then I'll be able to get access to the stuff in here from where the noise is coming, or at least I hope it is. So I'm not going to video all of that because I'll just be getting in the way and worrying about falling off the ladder. So we'll resume when I've got the bits on the bench and can work out what needs to be done. Now I've got this thing apart, I think I can see what the problem was. Maybe you can see over here. I'll just zoom in on this. This track here is where a spring has been rubbing on the inside of the drum. So that's the spring, and you might be able to see there's a contact patch just here. In fact, I've got a bit of a close-up of that so you can see. So that part of the spring was clearly rubbing on the inside of the drum. Now I think that the reason that happened is that this screw here was actually only finger tight and had worked its way out a little bit, which was holding this spring up and causing that contact patch. Now having pulled all this lot apart, that's the only thing I can find that's in any way a possible explanation for the noise, but it does look pretty plausible, so I'm hoping that's it. So this is the supplied screw, and as you can see it has a countersunk head, and it goes into this pivot block here, and the bore through this had a plain top, there was no countersink. So I've put a countersink into it so that now when this screw goes in, the head will be quite a bit lower than it was, and the spring passes over the top of it now and has the same height as this spring. So I think that will create the clearance needed to stop that contact with the rotating part. And I'm going to put this screw back in with Loctite because it came loose for some reason. There's no spring washer or whatever. So yeah, put a drop of one of the weaker Loctites on that just to make sure it doesn't come out again. So I have a screw in one end of this spring, but getting the screw into the other end is not a trivial exercise. It's really quite a stiff spring. So I've decided to bolt this thing down to the drilling table on my bench drill or pillar drill, and I've threaded a bit of string through the spring, so if it does jump off it can't disappear into Narnia. At least I'll know where the plumbing thing is. I have a magnet on the screwdriver to give myself half a chance, so let's see how we go. Let's just leave you there for a moment. Let's just see how hard I've got to pull. Alright, let's see how we go. Yeah. Close but no cigar. Some shorter pliers would be. Let's see if I can get some shorter pliers. Even though they're little screws, it seems like they're a better fit on a bigger driver. Alright. Look, the little bugger. Alright, so we can have this safety string out now. Okay, well that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. So now I've fixed that problem with the spring, and hopefully that was the source of the noise. It's time to reassemble. So I've got to press these two pieces back together, and I have this piece here to make sure that I press on the inner race, not the outer race. I don't want to distort the bearing. Right, now that isn't sitting square at the moment. Hopefully we can hold it somewhere near it till the press gets hold of the job. Something like that's got to be close. Well, that seems to be going on happily enough with no excessive force. We're nearly there now, and it's starting to take a bit more effort. That might be it. Oh no, looks like I've pressed my spacer on. Well, as you'll be able to see instantly, disaster struck when I was trying to press this piece back into the base. And I don't know exactly what happened. I guess I have to put it down to me being clumsy and making mistakes or something. But anyway, a piece broke off here, as you can see. And if we go around a bit further, you'll see that it actually broke off on the circlip line, which is obviously a weakened area. So I've ummed and ahed about the best option for recovering from this. This piece is actually available as a new item, but only if I buy it as a set with two other pieces, which takes the cost to over $700. So for me, that's very much a last resort. So considering other options, what I was thinking about doing was milling this whole piece, or turning this whole piece out, boring it right through and machining up another replacement thing and Loctiting that into this. But I wasn't happy that that would necessarily give me a good result, because I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but this thing actually has dimples machined in it, so it's been dynamically balanced. And taking a piece out and putting another bit back in, it's a bit dodgy. So I was umming and ahhing, as I said. I decided to reach out to another YouTuber who's got far more experience at this than I'll ever have, and that's Max Grant at the Swan Valley Machine Shop. And Max listened to my tale of woe, and very generously offered some advice and suggestion about how he would fix the problem. And his idea, I think, was a lot better than mine. So his idea is to part this thing off, machine it off on this circlip line and create a new flat face at this level. The bearing won't come past that, it only needs this much here. But because I won't then have a circlip to make sure the bearing can't walk off, Max's suggestion was to drill and tap some holes axially into the new face and put some retaining screws to make sure the bearing can't come off. And that could, or alternatively, to Loctite the bearing on, or in fact both. And I'm thinking that's probably what I'll do. And I've got it running pretty true. At the point where the dial gauge is reading, the run out is about 0.01. It doesn't actually have to be perfect, because nothing useful or nothing fussy is going to be in contact with the new face. So that's going to be good enough, and I'll see if I can machine this off. It's going to be a dreadful interrupted cut, so I think I'll use my parting tool and go through the circlip groove, because that's the least amount of material to cut off. Righto, fingers crossed. I think that was the most stressful parting operation I've ever done. So after parting the broken piece off, I've faced this piece off and taken 1 millimetre off the length, and that got rid of most of the damage here. So there will still be the potential for a very slight imbalance, because that is a piece of missing material and the thing had been dynamically balanced before. But it's a very small amount of material, and it is quite close to the centre of rotation, so I'm hoping I won't notice it. and also of course taking a millimetre off this face reduced the length here for the bearing to sit on. But I'm hoping I'll still have full contact because the bearing itself has got a radius which would be into space above this anyway. I'm making a replacement for this belt retaining ring here. I damaged it when I was clumsy getting things apart, but I think you'll be able to see that when it was originally installed it impacted on the ring and changed things a little bit. So trying to work out exactly what diameter to make this replacement was a bit of a guess, but I've settled for 49.95. The nominal OD here is 50, but well, anyway, it's not a huge investment to make one as a trial and see. So I've gone for 49.95 and we'll see whether it fits. Right, well, I think that that's going to be good. It just sort of starts there. I think that's a pretty good sort of press, and I'll put a dab of retaining compound I think on each of the touch points, and that should be good. Now I've got to make one up for this side. I have to explain that a bit more, I think. So what you're seeing here is the face that I cleaned up after I parted off the mangled circlip groove. So that was originally there, and that circlip would have been there like that. Function of which is to stop this piece here, which is the lower half of the driven pulley, from disappearing back through the bearing. So my earlier goal was to basically clean this up and then hold it in the bearing with the retaining compound. But I realised there's another option. This is the piece that has to go through there, and even though I now can't use that circlip, I can still use the fact that there's the teeth for the cog teeth, I suppose, for the lower belt are bigger than that hole. So this whole lot cannot go back through there anyway. So I realised that I could replace the lost circlip. I could replace the function of the lost circlip, which would sit about there somewhere, with a spacer that fetched up against the top face of those teeth. So that's what I've made up here, this guy. I've made him so he's a light push fit on there. I won't push it on yet, but that should just... oh, there we go. Yeah, there we go, perfect. So that can stay on there, and then this will get pressed on there with a bit of retaining compound, and the lower belt will run in there. So this piece here, so this space that I've made up here will replace the circlip to stop this whole lot disappearing back through the hole. Hopefully that made sense. Anyway, so I can press on now and start to, pardon the pun, and start to put it together. Get some of this retaining compound on here. Looks like I've got that set the wrong way. Don't have to slather in it, I just got a bit on each of those high points. So you better to do it like this. That's it. Yeah, I don't think that's coming off, but it's not going on any further either. Alright, that's that bit done. Right, well this is where we find out whether I've made the spacer the right length, because when that face is down onto the end of the spigot, I guess you call it, from this lower pulley, the full width of the circuit groove on the other side should be in view. Wouldn't matter if this was slightly narrow, but if it's too wide I won't get the full width of the groove and have to pull it all apart again. So fingers crossed, let's see what happens. Maybe just before I press it right home I'll have a look on the other side. Oh, the key slid down. Well, fortunately I can push the key back in so it hasn't gone out of alignment there. I'll be able to tap that in with a punch. But what I didn't expect to see is the circlip groove already well clear of the face here. So my measuring has gone astray somewhere. Well, I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but clearly I made a mistake with my measuring. But it turned out that the spacer I made was exactly the thickness of the supplied spacer. So I don't know whether I got mixed up with that somewhere, but anyway, circlips on, fully assembled, the sub-assemblies back together. So I think I can call that a successful repair, and I didn't need to resort to retaining compound to hold the shaft into the bearing. Yes, on here, but that's not supposed to come off anyway, so that's fine. Okay, moving on. Well, after all that, I'm pleased to report that the machine's now much quieter than it was. Obviously there's still quite a bit of mechanical noise there. I mean, the machine has done quite a bit of work now, but the annoying scraping sound that was irritating me has gone. So several weeks went by while I sorted all this lot out, and perhaps that's an explanation for why the other video has been so long coming. So back onto that now. Hope you found something interesting in this one. So cheers and thanks for watching.